All right, everybody, welcome back to the Jance Sports YouTube channel. I'm Jance716 back here again. And today we're going to talk about the Wisconsin Badgers just absolutely manhandling the Michigan Wolverines, winning the game 49-11 in the Big House. Again, it's an empty stadium. But even if there was a full crowd, Michigan has showed that they're just not a good football team. And there's just so much to talk about. So before we begin this video, make sure if you guys finish the video, make sure to like the video. Also, make sure to subscribe and make sure to press the notification bell so you guys can always stay up to date with my content that I will be posting pretty much in a consistent basis. So make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. But let's talk about this game real quick, guys. Wisconsin just destroyed Michigan. Wisconsin pretty much did whatever the hell they wanted to do. They ran the football really, really well, 341 yards. They used a lot of the receivers in motion, did a lot of jet sweeps, a lot of reverses. Wisconsin pretty much ran up the middle with their fullback. Wisconsin had two running backs that went over for over 60 yards. One was close to having 100 yards. They averaged close to 6 yards per carry. This was a dominant football game. And again, the running backs between the two, I think they averaged close to 6 yards per carry. I forgot what their grand total average, because they had receivers, they had fullbacks, they had, they pretty much, they had everybody. They had my mom running the ball, but again, Wisconsin did whatever the hell they wanted to do, right? The offensive line dictated the pace. They dictated where the hell they wanted to go with the defensive line when it came to the Michigan Wolverines. They made Michigan, they made that front seven look like little boys. And it's not really shocking. I would say the first week was a little bit shocking. Even the second week was even more shocking. But this week, however, it wasn't. We know at this point Michigan is just not a good football team. I think it's pretty realistic that a lot of the big powerhouse teams in the Big Ten are just not good this year. Penn State's 0-4, right? They're 0-4 now, so we all know that. So yeah, we knew that Penn State was a bad team, but yeah, Penn State is a really, really, really bad team. Michigan is right up there. And it's a shame too because Michigan has so much talent, and they can't develop these players. I think that this game has proven that they just don't know how to, that right now in this current moment, the coaching staff does not know how to develop the talent. The talent is way, way underdeveloped right now. And it shouldn't be. Now, some people may say, well, Michigan had, 10 players go to the NFL draft. But, you look at some of the other, I'm not going to say elite programs because Michigan's not an elite program, but you look at a program like Wisconsin that loses players to the NFL, every single year, and yet they continue to develop these players, these two three-star players into pro prospects every single year. You look at Iowa, look what they're doing, right? You look at some of the other B-tier programs, and they know, and even through this tough year, they're still finding a way to develop their players. And, we see that these teams are balling out. So, but you look at the Michigan Wolverines and it's so bad. The state of that program right now is so bad. It is clear and obvious at this point that Jim Harbaugh needs to go. He needs to leave the Michigan Wolverines, whether if it's his fault or not. Both sides, whether if it's the Michigan program and Harbaugh himself, they need to go in a different direction. It's just clear and obvious. I think at this point, Harbaugh just doesn't feel comfortable coaching there. And he's under a contract that Michigan can buy out and they can fire him, or Michigan or Jim Harbaugh can play it out and he'll be gone by the end of the 2021 season. But either way, it is clear and obvious at this point that Jim Harbaugh just does not feel comfortable there. I don't know the player-coach relationship or even the assistant coach to head coach relationship, but based off what we saw from these 4 games, it's not looking really well right now. And you really have to kind of question: do these players or these assistant coaches, do they even want to be under Harbaugh anymore? Following this year, so again, we'll find out more as Michigan plays. We'll see if Michigan can play better. But as of this moment, Michigan right now is a dead program. They've lost all hope. The fans have lost all hope in Harbaugh. They've lost all faith in the players and in the coaching staff that is there right now. And it is very, very sad. It's very, very sad. because Michigan just a couple of years ago was a good football team. Even last year, right? They won what 8 or 9 games last year, but that's still a good record for Michigan. And Michigan, these fans have high expectations, but this year alone, I mean, you can just see that the fans have finally given up on Harbaugh. I think that this year was the final year that Michigan fans are like, okay, you know what? Let's just see. Let's see how this plays out, and they're done now. So, yeah, horrible loss by the Michigan Wolverines. They were dominated on both sides of the ball. They couldn't run the football. They couldn't throw the foot. They couldn't run the football. They couldn't throw the football. Milton, he didn't look like he needed to be out there. They put their backup quarterback, and he had a better performance. But still, I mean that just goes to show you that the backup quarterback, even though he did play a little bit better, it wasn't even close. For the Michigan Wolverines, I mean, it was pretty much garbage time. By the time he came in, it was garbage time. And even still, Michigan was still getting outplayed by the Wisconsin Badgers. The sad part is that Graham Mertz, who was coming off of week one, 21-21, completed 90% of his passes, right? Looked like a potentially one of the best quarterbacks in college football. After having being diagnosed with COVID, he came back and he didn't play well. And he's a true freshman. I think rust is definitely a factor, but he didn't play well in this game, and Wisconsin still just completely dominated. I mean, it was just old school over Michigan's ass, man. I mean, they ran all. I mean, it was either from the receivers, or whether it was either the jet sweeps, the fullback dives, right? Whether it was single back, it didn't matter what running formation Michigan was in. They were going to they were going to run it down down Michigan's throats, and there was nothing Michigan could do about it. Duane Brown, man, Duane Brown has no answer. One week it's the passing attack, the other week it's the rushing attack. Sometimes it's both. And I think that Michigan does not have, I'm not going to say that. They do have the personnel. The problem is that they're not developed. And I did some research. Look at Wisconsin's class. Go to 24/7 Sports or ESPN Recruiting or Rivals. Look at Wisconsin's recruiting rankings the last 4 years. The highest that they've been was fifth. Then look at Michigan's recruiting classes over the last 4 years. You know what they've been? Second, first, third, second. Like their worst case scenario has been third in recruiting when it came to as far as what the recruiting class was in the Big Ten Conference. It was third. So don't tell me that Wisconsin just has more talented players. No, Michigan clearly has more talented players. The problem is that one side is developed and the other side isn't. Wisconsin continues to get these no-star, 1-star, 2-star, 3-star recruits, and they develop these players. They know how to develop these players. And don't tell me that Wisconsin recruits nationally, because they don't recruit nationally. For the most part, a majority of their roster is from the state of Wisconsin, or is from the Michigan area, the Illinois area, the Ohio area, the New Jersey area, the New York area. That's where Wisconsin gets the majority of its players from. Right? Michigan's the one that was on that trend of recruiting nationally. You look at some of the players that Michigan's recruited from Georgia, from Florida. Of course, there is the local areas like there is Michigan, there's Ohio, there's New York, those northeast areas. But Michigan recruits literally all over the place. So this is not a talent issue. This is a developmental issue. And it does start with Jim Harbaugh. It starts with the assistant coaches. It's just a mess. And I do believe that if this continues to if this trend continues, not for this year, because we all know Michigan's one of the worst teams in college football right now, but if this goes into next year, how in the hell do you not fire Jim Harbaugh after his contract is up? Yes, he had a good 5 years, but clearly the honeymoon was over. The honeymoon is clearly over. The fans are tired. The boosters are definitely tired. And at some point, looking at the top, these athletic directors, I know that they're tired of Jim Harbaugh, and I know that Jim Harbaugh is also tired of being the head coach of the Michigan Wolverines. And it needs to happen. A change needs to happen. Both sides needs to go in a different direction. And again, we'll see what happens for that for both sides. We'll see what happens for Jim Harbaugh's future, and we'll see what happens for the Michigan Wolverines program, their football program. We'll see what happens in their future. But both sides, they need to go in a different direction. It is clear and obvious this way. So again, the Wisconsin Badgers dominate the Michigan Wolverines 49-11. Wisconsin, after 2 games of pretty much being canceled because of COVID, looks like Wisconsin is on their way to potentially clinching their division. Again, it's not over yet because they got Northwestern. There is Northwestern, and we'll see what happens. We'll see if maybe some games could be rescheduled. We'll see if the conference games can be pushed back. But Wisconsin looks like the second best team in the Big Ten Conference right now. So if you're a Wisconsin fan, you got to be very, very excited about your program. But if you're a Michigan fan, you know Harbaugh has to go. At any point, if any Michigan fans tries to make the argument that Harbaugh needs to stay at this point, you're wrong. And if you're going to use, Penn State is 0-4 at this point, at least for Penn State, they had they won a New Year's Six Bowl game in January. Jim Harbaugh, out of the last 11 games that he's played, he's lost 9 of them. James Franklin and Penn State were winning their games and winning New Year's Six Bowl games. Jim Harbaugh in this Michigan program was already on the downtrend. They're already trending down. There's no excuses left for him. A change needs to happen for both sides. Anyway, guys, this is Jan716, aka Jan Sports. I'll catch you guys later. Peace.